and good evening. It's your girl ChucTayyy, and I am here with your RETV Sports update. You can catch me here every Thursday talking junk and spitting facts. So let's get started. We are going to start this week, guys, with the NCAA and all things LSU, or maybe lack thereof things LSU. LSU, who has championship gate, is what I call it, with Odell Beckham Jr. They had basketball gate, and then they had booster gate. Everything has gate at the end of it. It makes it seem more scandally. I don't know, but we're just going to go with the gate thing. So they had a booster back in 2017 who is actually serving time in federal prison for embezzlement. They had a former basketball coach who was accused and I believe found guilty on giving 11 players and or family members and people around these 11 players improper funds during the recruitment process. And then we had Odell Beckham Jr. last year, who decided, like, literally on national television, we're just going to give some players some money. Then it was like a thing. Oh, it was fake. It was a publicity stunt because of all the other things, whatever. So all of these things have now led up to LSU losing 8 scholarships. And now Odell Beckham Jr. is actually not allowed at the facility for 2 years. I'm sure he's real broken up about that. But that leads me to a different point. These players, so I find it very odd, always have actually, that players are not compensated for literally everything. Well, I guess I shouldn't say everything, but let me break it down for you like this. One of my favorite documentaries to watch is Fab Five. And they talk about how, their faces were plastered everywhere. They saw people walking around with their hair cut like them. Everything that had to do with Michigan at that time in the basketball program was them, right? And then they were like somewhere in a dorm room or what have you, scraping up coins to get Taco Bell. First of all, ew. It just, yuck. But, they were just like, everywhere. They were everything for Michigan at that time, right? And they couldn't even eat Taco Bell. Like, they had to scrape up money for... just don't get me started there. So, do I think that these players should be compensated during the recruitment process? No, I do not. Do I believe that players should at least be able to afford Taco Bell? Well, one, don't eat at Taco Bell. But yes, you guys, these players should not be scraping pennies together. And somebody's going to be like, oh, well, they have a meal plan. Have you eaten food at a college? I don't care what college it is. Ew. So that's not the point. And sometimes kids get hungry when the cafeteria is closed. When food is not readily available at the school. So there's different scenarios here. And this whole episode could legitimately just be about this. But here's my point. I believe that in the case of Odell Beckham Jr. and the championship thing, right? These players should get something. And there is a rule that was starting to get fleshed out prior to Corona, and I haven't heard too much more about it, that was saying that NCAA players would start to get some sort of compensation for their likeness. But I just think that's a stupid rule. Like, I get it. It kind of separates them from being professional, or being considered a professional, if you will. But at the same time, this rule is so stupid. And it's like, I don't know who actually makes the rule. So a couple years ago, 2 incidences. One, there was a player who was getting married and he had a wedding registry, and like it was like a big deal. Like, dude's getting married, and also like his wife needs stuff. I'm a wife and I need things. You know what I'm saying? So he was penalized for that. And then there was another player, and these players are escaping me, guys, so you charge it to my mind, not my heart. Is that the saying? Let's go with that. Anyway, his girlfriend was flown out to whatever the game was. And this actually just came to me. Otherwise, I would have researched it some more. But his girlfriend was flown out to whatever game he was playing in, some big like bowl. I kind of feel like it was like the Sugar Bowl or something. And he got in trouble for that. Like, that didn't have anything to do with him. Like, yes, that's his girlfriend, but he didn't physically receive the money, you know? And it's like there's so many minute and minuscule things that go into this rule that I kind of feel like they're making it up as they go along. I just feel like, you know, when my kids go to college, right, and they will be athletes, they will be. At least one of them will be. If I want to give them a Christmas gift, monetary or otherwise, that's completely my business. And he or she should not be penalized for that. So it's I mean, now this probably won't be a rule by the time my kids get of age, but you see my point, right? There's just so many things that players and even family members or friends or what have you have to tiptoe around because of such an idiotic rule. It's asinine. The whole thing is asinine. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. was dumb. Like, why would you do that on? We can see you. Then you try to be like, oh, the money was fake. How about just don't do it? How about not in front of the cameras? Like, it's just, he's not as funny as he thinks he is. Not to me, at least. So, nevertheless, LSU is obviously on the losing end of this majorly because, again, Odell Beckham Jr. not being allowed there for 2 years. How often was he actually going? Like, I'm sure he was making some appearances, right? But not enough that he's not at home losing sleep about it. I'm sure that he's not. He's trying to figure out if he should finish at Cleveland or if he should get the H-double hockey sticks up out of there. But that's a different story. Moving right along. So guys, it is World Series time, and I know we do not usually talk about baseball here because in my mind basketball is just up here and that's just the way of the world. So it is World Series time. It not kicked off, pitched off. Does that sound right? I know that it's not really a thing, but I would, cool. Okay. Anyway, so the World Series actually started Tuesday, and the LA Dodgers are currently leading the Rays 1-0. Second game is Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So we will obviously continue coverage on that. What I find the most interesting about this entire thing is, one, the Dodgers have only lost 3 postseason games, and they were all to Atlanta. So shame on me for not following that a little bit more, but guys, I'm supposed to be unbiased, but am I? Because I say a lot of biased things on this show. But Pittsburgh Pirates, that's my team, so that's kind of like what I pay attention to. And again, basketball is like up here, so if the Pirates aren't playing, I'm like not really paying attention, and that's just a little insight into my personal life. So anyway, so they're leading 1-0, only 3 losses in the postseason. So this should be kind of interesting from the perspective of, first of all, the Dodgers are out here smashing people. Like they won game 1, I believe it was 8-3. They had a game in the regular season. The score was like 14-4. Like, what are y'all doing? That's crazy. So anyway, then their pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, was actually a victim, if you will, to the Houston Astros and that whole sign cheating Patriots baseball thing. Patriots of baseball. Yeah, that was how I wanted to say that. So he is like kind of in his head, but not enough that he's going to let the Rays capitalize on that. And it doesn't look like the Rays are doing any sign stealing because in the 6th inning on Tuesday, they had 1 run and 2 hits. So it doesn't look like they're stealing any signs here. But of course, that's always in the back of everybody's mind, right? Especially when you have a pitcher that came from that situation and now pitching in the World Series, because that cost him the World Series at that time. So again, this is a developing story considering that game 2 is just on Wednesday. And if the Dodgers do win, that will be the first title win in 31 years, longer than I've been alive, guys, which is crazy. So again, developing story. We will have to continue to watch that. I'm going with the Dodgers because every time I see in my ESPN app, I'm like, dude, are they even playing people? It's like the computer set on hard when you play the video game. No? Okay. I really got to get an audience, guys, or at least somebody in here talking to me. It makes it more exciting. Tell me if you guys want me to have a guest. I'm going to start bringing guests on, whether you say that you want them or not, because this is my show, and I'm going to do what I want, right? Right. Anyway, moving on further. NFL. So we have made it another week, guys, and I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to talk about this at all. Antonio Brown looks like he is more than likely going to be a part of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, do I agree with this? No, I do not. Why do I not agree with it? It's because I have a personal vendetta against Antonio Brown. I don't even really like to speak his name, guys. I think I said in the last episode, I usually refer to him as he who shall not be named. But I don't really want to confuse any actual Harry Potter fans here, so I'm just going to keep calling him by his name. Apparently, there are other teams that are interested, but the top team amongst the list is the Seattle Seahawks. Is that a good pickup for them? Yes, I'm not going to lie. Antonio Brown is a phenomenal player. He's a terrible person. Again, that's my opinion. It's a little biased. I'll allow it. I mean, again, it's my show, so everybody has to allow it. But in all seriousness, when Antonio Brown is on, he is on. You know what I'm saying? So he can get it done, but he needs to be with a team that's going to be like, yo, we're not doing this. You need to tighten it up, Chief. Okay? Get it together. And I think that everybody thought that Bill Belichick was going to be that coach. But considering that Bill Belichick can't even put on real clothes, that to me, it wasn't a good... It was a great team. He would have done really well on that team. But he really needs... He's like that... How do I explain this? It's like that movie Hardball. Okay, I'm full of movies today, guys. So it's like Hardball, and the kids were like super bad, but then Keanu Reeves comes and he's like a good coach, or becomes a good coach, and then they kind of like straighten up and get together, come together and stop fighting, and then they like win the championship or whatever. That's basically what Antonio Brown needs. He needs a Keanu Reeves in this scenario, right? He needs a coach that's gonna come and tighten him up. And I get it, that's a grown man and another grown man, and you shouldn't have to tell. I got that, but that's what he needs to reach his full potential. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a coach. It could be another player. It could be the coach and the player combo, but he needs somebody, and maybe Russell Wilson is that person. Maybe Russell Wilson shows him how to tighten it up. Maybe Russell Wilson gets in his head. Again, it might be the 1-2 punch combo with the coach and Russell Wilson. Who knows? But until somebody gets through to Mr. Brown that these antics shall not continue, he's going to go back on suspension. He's going to be right back home on Instagram, Twitter, Face, whatever, calling his grandma, talking about they released me, and just being a spectacle. Just a spectacle. And also, Roger Goodell should just stop allowing this, but we know that he's not really that smart either. So, yeah. So, we will see what happens. Again, this is a developing story. This actually just came out Wednesday afternoon. And it was literally all they were talking about on ESPN for like an hour and a half. So nothing set in stone quite yet, at least as of right now. And I guess we'll just have to see what happens when I get back to you guys next week. If he is playing, the consensus is that if the Seahawks do sign him, or any other team for that matter, that we will potentially be able to see him week 9 in uniform and possibly playing. So again, developing story that we'll just have to watch unfold. I didn't want to say develop again. And that's it for me this week, guys. Game of the week is Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 undefeated teams. Somebody got to take this L. We're going to see who it is. Again, biased, not biased, but very biased. I'm, of course, going with the Steelers. This is the first time in a long time that I can remember that we are undefeated, and I'm going to ride that wave. So that is the game of the week. We will see what happens next week. We will continue to keep our eye on the World Series. We will continue to keep our eye on Antonio Brown. And I think that's it, guys. So I will see you next week. Again, I'm your girl, ChucTayyy. You can catch me here every Thursday, spitting facts, talking junk. Oh, and somebody sent me a message, and I can't remember who it was, that basically said that I had dope t-shirts. And I just wanted to say, kudos to you. I live in a t-shirt, so love that you guys love my t-shirts. I try to keep it fresh for you. So come back next week and see what I have on then. I will see y'all then. See ya.